Hello there and welcome back to the channel. Today we are talking about this, the Commando 8 from iFlight. Now they have very kindly sent this over to me to review, and in this video I'm going to take a closer look at the radio itself, walk you through some of its features, and then at the end I'm going to share with you my thoughts having spent a little bit of time with it. Now just as I said, they have sent me this over for free. However, iFlight have not seen this video before it's been published, and my thoughts are as always entirely my own. Anyway, let's get on with it and let's take a closer look at the radio itself first of all. Okay, so let's jump in and take a closer look at the radio first of all. So there's not a lot in here to show you other than the radio controller itself and the sticks located down here. Now obviously you can see when we get the radio out, this is very much a gamepad style controller. If I lift that out of the box, you'll then see below that there's an included Allen key hiding down there. We've got some nice stickers as well as a bit of a warranty book or something like that. Pushing that out the way, then we have our little gimbal sticks that are stuck into the packaging here. You want to make sure that you don't miss them. They're these little machined metal ones. Now, one thing I did notice when I first had a look at this was they are quite short, although they do make some longer ones and they are available to get from iFlight as well. And they have actually sent me some over, so we'll take a look at them as well a little bit later on in the video, but you can see that there are some longer ones there too. Now this is the 2.4 gigs Express ELRS edition. This is the single band model with the single band antenna. You can though also get this in a dual band model too, which allows for both the 2.4 gig and 868/900, or you can get it in that 868/900 single mode as well. It allows up to 500 milliwatts of output as standard, and it has this quite nice ingenious folding antenna that also rotates as well, allowing you to set the direction nice and easily depending on what your flight setup is. Now it's fitted with Hall effect gimbals. It has a small 1.2-inch mono display and it is running Edge TX as standard, and it has all the functionality that you would expect from a standard Edge TX radio with regards to the menu and everything, and we'll take a look at that in a second. And it has it on this really small display. As I've said, it's fitted with Hall effect gimbals. Moving up to the top, we've got two latching buttons on the corner, so you could have one for arm and one for pre-arm, and then you've got these two 3-position switches up here at the top as well. In the center here, we've obviously got our lanyard clip. We have then our controls for the open Edge TX side of things. We've got a battery meter down here. Flipping it up to the bottom, we've got our power button, USB-C for charging the radio, as well as our micro SD card slot. Flipping it around to the back, you can see that there is a fan here around the Express ELRS module area, but there is a module adapter available for these, allowing you to connect the TX module onto this radio too. As I mentioned, this radio has that USB-C port on the bottom for charging the built-in batteries. It has two 18650 batteries installed as standard, and you can actually charge them with a 20-watt charger via the USB-C quick charge connector, and you can also use that to power the radio as well in flight. Now, just jumping in a bit closer to demonstrate this display in action, and whilst it does look very small at 1.2 inches, I'll be honest, I find it absolutely fine to do what I need to do, and you can even run Lua scripts on this as well. Now, to turn this radio on, it's like turning on a typical DJI product. For instance, if you press the button once, it shows you the battery level, but if you press, release, and press again, it fires the radio up, and as you can hear, it powers up, gives us our warnings, and now you can see on the display our typical OpenTX Edge TX style of layout. Now down the bottom here we have our controls for the Edge TX system. So we have our menu, our back and our model, and then we have our direction arrows over here. So for instance, if I do that and tilt it through, you can see we can just go through the screens, and if I go up and down, it'll go through them as well. Then if I want to enter the menu, I can simply press the button over here. You can see we've got the standard menu system, which we can scroll through just like you have on any traditional OpenTX and Edge TX radio. So for instance, we can go through, find our tools menu. We can go down to Express ELRS, click on that, and we can actually run the Express ELRS configuration app. and we can do all of our configuration under here, for instance, TX power, and all of the usual stuff that you can do on any of the normal radios. As I mentioned, we also have our model options too. So if I press across again, we've got all of that there available for us. Now, I'm not going to go in too deep on this. It's the same as any Edge TX Open TX radio. It has all of that same functionality. It's just in a much smaller package than we're used to seeing. Now, in the hand, this radio does feel very much as it looks, like a gamepad controller. It's fairly lightweight, but it does feel very comfortable with my fingers having a nice area there to rest on the top, being able to feel the sticks nice and easily. I can get to the buttons no problem at all, and you can get to the switches. Now, it is very basic in its overall functionality in the sense of it only has the 2 3-way position switches and the 2 latch-in switches, but that is enough for most quad flyers. It does have some real nice touches as well, and the biggest one for me is this antenna. The fact it does fold over nicely, but also the fact that you can rotate it into the vertical position as well, just giving you the best possible orientation depending on what your RF setup is. Looking around it, as I've said, there's really not that much to see. You do have these arrows on either side here that allow you to peel them back to gain access to the radio, or be able to adjust your gimbals too if you want to do that. Just showing you that, you simply put your fingernail under the corner there, rip it off, and then you can see that you've gained access to the screws for the back of the radio. And I can see through there, I believe, access to being able to do some adjustments on the gimbal. I can see one there. I can see one there as well. So we should be able to adjust the tension and stuff from there, no problem at all. And then you can simply clip that back in place, give it a push over, make sure it's all locked in, and then you're back ready to go. Now, as I said earlier, there is built-in 18650 batteries in these, but they are not instantly replaceable without taking the radio apart. So what we'll do next is get the screws out of it and have a look at how it looks inside. Just before I go any further, I've undone the 2 screws here that allow us to take off the bay at the back. Now here is that built-in Express ELRS module. You'll find that there's a USB-C port on it. We can see a cable harness going to the inside, and then there's the cooling fan for it as well. As I've said, that's the built-in 500 milliwatt model. Now, having looked at this, I said earlier that there is an external TX bay available for this radio, which they've sent me as well. But looking at it, this would actually replace the Express ELRS module. So you can't have the external bay and the built-in module as far as I can see so far. It's one or the other, but we'll look at that a little bit closer when we move in to the back of the radio. But right now, from what I can tell, it is literally the choice of using it like this or with an external module, and then you choose the modules you want to use. Okay, so I give up. I can't get inside this radio. I've removed the screws, but there are plastic clips that go all the way around the outside. And I don't want to risk damaging it before I've had a chance to properly fly it and test it, just to get inside and have a look. However, I do want to show you a few things from this back door because we can see something. So let me just zoom the camera in a little bit. Okay, so we can see the main processor in the middle there, nice and easily, and that is an STM32F407, I think that is. Let me just look. Yeah, F407. If we look around then, we can see that we've got a back, a battery circuit. We can see our little vibration motor down there as well. The bit, though, I wanted to show you is actually down here inside, and it's not going to be very easy to see because of the light level. However, what I can see in there is the gimbals, and they are Hall gimbals, but there are these very, very thin wires that go from the gimbals over the top to a little PCB located there. And you've got the same on this side. You can't quite see it. The board is actually on the other side. So the board looks like it's on this side on that one. But on this one here, you can see it there. And you've just got those little wires, and as I move the gimbal, you can see them go back and forth. Now, I'll say the overall build quality in here looks very, very good. The PCB looks very well made. All of the connectors are nice as well. I'm just a little bit concerned about those wires. They are extremely thin, and they actually go over the top of the metal bracket that is there for the gimbal. I do wonder what they'd be like over time. I've not heard of any problems, but it is just something I noticed as I was looking in the back of the radio. Just one more thing on that is, because it does have those built-in batteries, you are going to have some fun getting into this if you do need to change them. They are located, from the looks of it, up there and there. I can see something through the holes here, but they're not going to be that straightforward to change when it does come to swapping them out. Just before I give you my thoughts on this radio, I just want to talk about a couple of the other accessories and stuff that are available for this. Now, we have that bay that I talked about just now. This is the upgrade kit that allows you to replace the built-in module and use a TX module with it. This kit comes with everything you need. About the only real downside, as I've already mentioned, is that you don't appear to be able to retain your existing module. In the kit, you get a couple of screws, you get a cable, and then you get this little adapter that goes on the back that obviously has the nano, and then we have the power board here for supplying power to it. It's just a shame that if you're going to use this, you then have to get an actual module to be able to continue to use your radio as well. Bit of a strange setup that, but it is available too. They also have some express ELRS receivers available as well, which iFlight have made. If we just pop this out, this again allows you to use it with the radio. There are obviously lots of different express ELRS receivers out there on the market, but iFlight do have their own one as well. What's nice about this, having looked up front, is we've got a Ufl connector on it there. What I'll do is let me just zoom in so you guys can see a bit closer. Now, as I said, we have our Ufl connector, and you'll see it goes across to this little IC, and that is because there is a telemetry amplifier on this one, and it gives the full 20 dBm of RF power on the return back to your transmitter. You'll see that the receiver does also come pre-wired as well with a nice little connector on. Just makes life a little bit easier if you have something that is plug and play. So for instance, you have an iFlight flight stack, and then if we flip it over to the back, they have this nice little sticker on it that just shows you the pinouts, and they show you where the boot pad is. And then over here we have our little Wi-Fi antenna for updating the firmware, and a little button on there too. Whilst there are lots and lots of different express ELRS receivers out there, it's just nice to see another what appears to be decent quality one on the market, and has that high power telemetry option too. Just one last thing to quickly mention is that there are longer sticks available for the gimbals. Now, this is the standard one that comes with the radio, but they do make these longer ones, which I've got here as well. If I just place them there, you can see that they are actually longer. I found the sticks out the box a little bit short, and I did install the longer ones. iFlight do make some other ones of different lengths available as well. So if you are getting the radio, you might want to consider getting the longer sticks at the same time, because the standard ones are quite short. Okay, so it's time for me to share with you my thoughts on the Commando 8. Now, for me, this is very much a two-sided story. There is a lot to like here, but be under no illusion, I think this radio is compromised in some ways as well. What I really like is the size and feel of it. It feels high quality, the plastics are good, you've got those Hall effect gimbals, they feel decent, they're not the best, they're certainly not the worst either. You have that built-in 500 milliwatt express ELRS system. That is higher output than we've seen on some of the other smaller radios, and it's nice to have that functionality built in. And I also really like the fact that you can easily turn and adjust the antenna to get the best possible reception from the system too. It also has those two built-in batteries that offer very, very good battery life. I have failed in my tests to flatten this radio. I left it on the bench on full output this morning and just left it for 3 hours, and it was still on over 50%. So from a battery life point of view, you're going to have no issues at all in the field from what I can see, and you do have that quick charge option built in as well, or the option to run it off that USB-C power whilst using the radio too. Whilst there's a lot to like, there are some downsides to this radio as well. The biggest being the lack of physical buttons and switches. As I've said, we have our two latching ones on the corner and our 2-3 positions, and whilst that's fine for most quad flyers, fixed wing users would find it limited. There's also the strange situation of the fact that whilst this radio does have the built-in Express LRS system, if you do want to use it with other systems, you end up having to remove your Express LRS module, and you can't then use it with this radio, and you'd need to go out and buy another one because there isn't a casing supply that would allow you to then use that module you've taken out with this radio moving forward. So you'd end up having to buy the adapter and buy yourself another module just to get back the functionality that you had without the TX bay on the back. There's also the fact that this radio isn't easy to take apart. Whilst I've said you can take that off the back, I found it impossible to go any further without causing any damage, and you will need to take that into account in the future if you're going to want to replace the batteries as they come towards the end of their life. So overall, what do I think? Well, I think it's a very nice option, but you've got to make a decision really what you're looking for from a radio, not only now, but moving forward. If all you're after is a game style radio with built-in Express LRS, Hall effect gimbals, and you have no intention of doing external modules, then this is well worth a look. However, if you do think you're going to need some additional functionality in the future, more buttons, switches, or you want to add an external module, then this may not be the best option for you. It has a lot to offer, but that is somewhat compromised by some of the limited features. It costs about $130, which puts it into the mid to upper price band, and you are getting a lot for that price, but you are also sort of backing yourself into a corner with functionality too. If you're interested in getting yourself one, there is a link to it in the description of this video. I want to thank iFlight for sending it over to me. I think it's a very good radio. It just has a few limitations you need to be aware of. If you're interested in finding out more, please do make sure you are a subscriber of the channel because we will be using this moving forward. Also, if you'd like to give me some comments on what you think about this video, please do put them in the chat section. I will try and answer it. If you'd like to support us to keep making content like this in the future, please do check out the links in the description to my Patreon, as well as buy me a coffee. It's only by you guys using them am I able to keep making content and keep giving you my opinion moving forward. Anyway, that's it from me. Stay safe. I'll speak to you soon.